So since studying the Bible for my series on this channel, I've made some on and off attempts at learning ancient Hebrew. And while I'm not quite bar mitzvah level, I have learned enough to appreciate some of the clever puns and other wordplay in the Torah. And there's actually a lot of fun examples, so I thought I'd share my favorites from the book of Genesis. And yeah, that's what this video is gonna be. I thought it would be a fun and simple thing to do.
Sir, if you keep coming back here, I'll have to call the police.
In Genesis 2, Yahweh forms man, Adam, from the dust of the ground, Adamah, and breathes into his nostrils the breath of life. So the first human is Adam from Adamah. By the way, my Hebrew pronunciation is bad, so we're just gonna accept that and move on. Anyway, to adapt this pun into English, I've seen earthling from earth suggested, though I find that to sound a bit too clinical. I personally enjoy Robert Alter's rendering of it into the Lord God fashioned the human, humus from the soil. Though I guess there can't be humus in the ground if plants and animals don't exist yet, so whatever, A for effort, Robert. Later in Genesis 2, Yahweh takes from Adam's side to create the first woman. Oh yeah, and I'm not gonna go into whether Tsela means something other than rib in this video, so you can save those comments for later. Or comment anyway, it's good for engagement, I guess. Then Adam says, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She will be called woman, Isha, because she was taken out of man, Ish." Now this is what you call a folk etymology, an explanation for where a word comes from that doesn't actually reflect its true origin. The masculine noun ish comes from the consonantal root aleph yod shin, and while isha sounds like its feminine form, it actually comes from a different root, aleph nun shin. I don't want to try to explain Semitic roots. The point is, since these words are not derived from the same one, they had to have originated separately. Funnily enough, there's a very similar situation in English where the words male and female sound related too, but they actually come from completely different Old French words. So if you translated the verse as "she will be called female because she was taken out of a male," it would not only retain the same literal meaning, but also the same false etymology. If you're a Hebrew scholar, please feel free to tell me why this translation would be a stupid idea, because I think it's brilliant. Now another pun. Genesis 2 ends with "the man and his wife were both naked, Aramim, and they were not ashamed." Then Genesis 3 begins, "Now the serpent was more subtle, Arum, than any animal of the field." The best English wordplay I can come up with would be, "The man and his wife were both nude," followed by, "The serpent was more shrewd." So if you're on the committee for the King James version 2.0, feel free to credit me for that stroke of genius, thanks. Jumping ahead, in Genesis 11, all of humanity still belongs to just one culture, and they say, "Come, let's build ourselves a city and a tower whose top reaches the sky, and let's make a name for ourselves lest we be scattered abroad on the surface of the whole earth." But upon seeing their work, Yahweh says, "Behold, they are one people and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Come, let's go down and there confuse their language that they may not understand one another's speech." So Yahweh scattered them abroad from there on the surface of all the earth. They stopped building the city. Now on top of explaining why different cultures and languages exist, this story is also a polemic against the Babylonians who exiled the Jews from their homeland. The tower whose top reaches the sky was likely imagined as a ziggurat, a type of step tower found in Mesopotamian cities. The Babylonians believed that the tower's height brought them closer to the gods, so to the Jews it would have made a fitting symbol for man's hubris. At the end of the story, we get a final dig at the Babylonians by way of folk etymology. Therefore, the city's name was called Babel, meaning Babylon, because there Yahweh confused, Balal, the language of all the earth. Now, when I was a kid, I was told that the English word Babel came from this story, but that also is a folk etymology. There's actually no traceable connection. So it's just an amazing little coincidence that you can translate Genesis 11:9 into English with basically the same pun, though you need to get a little creative with the phrasing. Robert Alter renders it, "Therefore it is called Babel, for there the Lord made the language of all the earth Babel." But I prefer Richard Friedman's version. Its name was called Babylon because Yahweh babbled the language of all the earth there. Making it into a verb is just more playful, I guess, which is refreshing to me. I know this is a sacred book, but come on, this passage is cheeky as hell, and we should gladly embrace that. In fact, it's doing its authors a disservice not to. Okay, this last one's not a pun, but still a really clever choice of words that I enjoy. In Genesis 22, while Abraham is taking his son Isaac up the mountain, Isaac asks, "Here is the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" To which Abraham responds, "God will provide himself the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the Hebrew phrasing has the same ambiguity as in English with the punctuation removed. So it can be taken as "God will provide the lamb, my son," or as "God will provide the lamb, my son." Again, this book is funny. It's intentionally funny, and I think that deserves more appreciation. Let me know if you guys want more videos like this, because I've hardly scratched the surface here.